Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I want to discuss an idea that kind of answers the question of when does life begin, at conception or at birth. Maybe you've heard this debate, the controversy between pro-life people and pro-choice people, and just the idea of, when does a human being actually turn into a human being. And I want to weigh in with kind of a controversial, it might be controversial idea, because I haven't heard this myself, and it might fly in the face of existing ideas. So I want to talk about the heart fetus. The heart fetus. And I think this is actually the proper way to look at it. So what do I mean by the heart fetus? I mean that if we're being honest and we're being proper and healthy and happy as nature intended, I hope, for people, conception begins long before a baby is born. Not just when it is conceived, not just during the snapshot of the expression of love, that is, but when the man and the woman fall in love, hopefully, and they start to bond and form the emotional basis for a family. Okay, so here's when it actually starts. What do I mean by a heart fetus? I mean that the heart becomes pregnant long before the woman becomes pregnant in a perfect world. If you ask me, it's just an idea. So in terms of practical value, this doesn't answer the question of when is an abortion allowed or proper or called for. And I do understand all those arguments, and I don't want to turn this video into an exploration of pros and cons of terminating pregnancy or when it's proper or if it's even proper. This is more about just clarifying, in an ideal situation, when pregnancy actually happens, when life actually starts to form. So I wouldn't say that, obviously a heart fetus, if you will, is a full-blown human being. That's not what I'm trying to say necessarily. Just that it begins long before people even, commonly realize it. That's what I think. I think that when a man and a woman start to fall in love, that's when it starts. That's when the pregnancy actually happens. And then the expression of love that follows predictably thereafter, it's kind of part of a bigger picture, if you will. It's not the thing itself. Conception, physical conception, that is pregnancy, is just the middle part. It's not the beginning, it's not the end. It's the part in the middle, I think, in a perfect world, that is. Now, you can take things out of context. You can say because it's hard to measure, it's hard to prove, that emotional pregnancy, or heart fetus, if you will, is not a real thing, but there are many things that are real that you can't measure. Lots and lots. I would actually say most of the universe is unmeasurable, but real nonetheless. Just being unable to prove something, or not having the ability or technical power to measure or prove something conclusively, does not mean it doesn't exist. This is, unfortunately, as an aside, folly of our current, evidence-driven decision-making culture that we have. Maybe you've heard this before. Evidence-based decision-making. So the problem is obviously for things which have no evidence, things that you cannot see necessarily directly or prove in a laboratory or a courtroom, all of the things that you have difficulty with proving suddenly are assumed to not exist when you involve evidence-based decision making. Here's your problem. You're blinding yourself to real things and diverging from reality. This is ultimately the problem. You can't plan effectively if your plan is based on a lie, if it's based on bad information, if it's based on missing information, and if you're choosing to just ignore or pretend that things that are difficult to measure do not exist, well, you're setting yourself up for failure, and if we're involved, you're setting me up for failure. Here's the problem. Here's my opportunity in this video to help you see that there are many things you cannot measure that exist. They are real nonetheless. And I think, tying back to the original subject, heart fetuses are real in a perfect world. Maybe you've heard of a nuclear family. Last point. You've heard of a nuclear family. This idea has been going around for quite some time, where there's a central nucleus to a healthy, functional family system, where there's a male and a female parent counterpart, and the children, they all kind of revolve around this central nucleus, and I think that the heart fetus becomes that nucleus. It's the prelude to it. It's very important. It's important to remember that humans are humans and not just machines, not just physiological, chain reactions that are bent on self-replication. That's not what we do. We are not just, dopamine vessels, which is another subject that unfortunately people are obsessed with. They want to reduce everything to some, simple soundbite, some kind of explanation that you can just say, oh, it's all about the dopamine, or it's all about, conception. It's the physical act of conceiving. That's what love is. No. It's not. That's just the fun part, if you will. Reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.